Another reading from the Science of Mind Daily Guides. Whether it's your first time here or your 100th or 1000th time here, thank you very much for attending. I really appreciate that. And I hope that both you and I learned something from today's reading and all the other readings that we do. The quote I've got is from Lao Tzu, the famous Chinese philosopher from, I think, somewhere around about 500 BCE. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. And that ties in pretty well with today's reading, as you will probably glean as we go through this. And it's called A Complete Emancipation. First quote is from the ancient philosopher Plotinus from his Enneads. It's chapter 4, verse 8. All souls are from one source and return to it. And in that return, there is rest from all wandering and all pain. And Plotinus, if I'm not mistaken, was in the 2nd century, something like that. Way back when, anyway. So I should know, actually. And I'm just going to take a very, very quick break. Yes. Where's here? Okay. All right. We'll see you down there. No? Oh, okay. Bye. Bye. I must humbly apologize for that break, but I had to answer a quick phone call. Ernest Holmes, going back to our subject, which is a complete emancipation, Ernest Holmes says, and there's been a lot of debate over this, by the way, we believe the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. And that's from, once again, as all this month, from what we believe. And I'll come back to that in a second. And this is Reverend John Waterhouse, who says, if I can just get my stuff together here. He says, reflecting on all that this quote encompasses would warrant an entire dissertation, he says, but I will give you what I can on this page. This principle speaks to life having purpose, meaning, and direction. It's the process by which we ultimately attain harmony and fulfillment. It is the inherent nature of life to move toward conscious enlightenment. And you see, he's already explaining it a little bit there. Most of us move through life accumulating discord, accepting separation, conflict, disappointment, and suffering, all of which cause much of what we experience as difficult and often overwhelming. Ernest Holmes claims that we can overcome all of this, and that this is in fact our natural direction. Then he says, Ernest Holmes, suggesting that this happens in a single lifetime? He says, I've known many who transition from their earthly experience without finding peace. Could he mean that once we release our bodies, we also release all discord? Or that we evolve toward this emancipation over the course of multiple lives? He says, I'll leave that for you to choose for yourself. So in other words, he's getting out of it. The point is that however it happens, it does happen. For me, the beauty of this principle is that it's deeply optimistic, inclusive and progressive, meaning discord dissipates as consciousness expands. This is our destiny. And you've actually got to weigh that against Ernest Holmes saying that he believes that our progression through life is in effect eternal, it's continuous, and that we're always learning. And I would say if we're always learning, then the learning process itself often produces some, what we say, it produces some discord. So I'm kind of somewhere still processing this. I don't think it's something that's easy to process. I'm trying to weigh this up. On the one hand, Ernest Holmes is saying that, look, life continues forever, and life is a learning process, and that as we go on, we just keep learning more and more and more. On the other hand, he's saying that ultimately there will be freedom from all discord, etc. So does that mean as we go through this learning process that we gradually get rid of all the discord, and that the learning process happens without any further, what does he say, discord? And what else does he say? Discord of any nature whatsoever. So I don't know. Like me, you're going to have to decide this for yourself. But I do believe two things. I believe that as we evolve and as we move further and further along in our spiritual journey, that things do get easier. And do they ultimately get so easy we don't notice any discord? I don't know. Do I believe that it seems reasonable that if life is eternal, that the learning process carries on forever? Absolutely. Otherwise, it would just be boring. I don't believe that when we die here, we go to a spiritual heaven, as it were, and there we play harps all the time and just sit in adoration. No, I don't think that's true either. I think it seems to me that life is the learning process and that continues. So, hey, you've got John Waterhouse's 10 cents worth, you got my 10 cents worth, and you got his affirmation, which says, with every breath, I move closer to my most fulfilling experiences and the most joyful expression. I think that's a mouthful. With every breath, I move closer to my ultimate goal, which is learning. And I go back to the Lao Tzu quote, actually, because I think that's a good one. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. In other words, it's all about the journey. And if it's all about the journey, and you know ultimately whatever discord there is, you'll get through it, then does it matter if you know ultimately you'll be on the other side of every discord that you ever find, providing you believe that you are on this spiritual journey and you have faith. So that's how I summarize this. So anyway, once again, I apologize for having to have a quick break at the beginning. Please look out for Reverend Lisa tomorrow at 9:15. And I'm sure she would have a different take on this, as would our leader, Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings, our other ministers who are our companions, and anybody on the spiritual journey probably is going to have a slightly different opinion. But they all believe one thing, that being on the spiritual journey is life, and that journey probably carries on forever. So until next time, knowing the highest and best for every single person, namaste.